Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, and welcome to Class Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my class while cleaning. This week's movie is The Invisible Ghost from 1941, and it's about 1 hour and 3 minutes long, and it starts with Mr. Kessler having dinner with his dead wife, or rather, what he believes is her ghost, or something like that. And Mr. Kessler is played by the famous Bela Lugosi. He played Dracula in the black and white movies back in the day, and of course this movie is also in black and white. And meanwhile this is happening, his daughter is talking to her boyfriend Ralph about his father's dilemma. And apparently Mrs. Kessler died in a car crash, or so we are to believe. But that is not the case, and we learn sooner on or later that the repair guy, the handyman of the household repairing things, he steals food from the kitchen to give to Mrs. Kessler because she is in her basement for some reason. I don't know why. They should tell Mr. Kessler that his wife is alive or something, but they don't. I don't know why that's a thing. So in the middle of the night, Mrs. Kessler breaks out of her basement and she goes out, and somehow Mr. Kessler knows that she's out there. There's like mental connection going on, and they see each other through a window, and something snaps in Mr. Kessler's head, and he goes to murder the maid Celia for some reason. I don't know why, but she's dead, and of course Ralph is blamed for it because apparently they had like a love affair in the past, or at least Celia had some crush on him. And the next day Mr. Kessler doesn't even know what he did actually. So the police is called in and they investigate the whole thing the next day, and Ralph gets blamed for the murder and he gets the death penalty. And sometime after that, Ralph's brother Paul visits the Kesslers, and they're all shocked because they didn't know he had a twin brother. So the next day, the same thing happened again. Mrs. Kessler is outside the window, wandering around, and this triggers the Mr. Kessler again, and he goes to murder the repair guy this time. And after that, Paul gets invited to stay at the Kesslers, and of course, Mr. Kessler doesn't know what happened the day before. And the next night, even so, he goes again, seeing Mrs. Kessler outside the window. You begin to see a pattern here, don't you? And he gets triggered, and he goes to kill his daughter this time, but something snaps in his head, and he doesn't go for it. And the next day, Paul actually confronts him about it. And of course, he's oblivious about it. And the family portrait of Mrs. Kessler is actually ruined. Her face is cut off on the portrait stand. And then there's another police investigation about the painting. And while they're investigating this painting, they think they found the killer, but it's actually, they find the body of another police officer that apparently Mr. Kessler has killed, and he, of course, doesn't know about it. So they bring in a psychiatrist they believe the butler Evans is behind it, but it's kind of ridiculous that they believe he is. But they interrogate him, and meanwhile this is happening, Mrs. Kessler wanders into the kitchen to steal some food, and she gets apprehended by the police and taken up to Mrs. Kessler, where this psychiatry session is going on. And of course Mr. Kessler gets triggered by his wife, and they are separated, but Mr. Kessler goes to strangle the main sort of captain, the chief. And meanwhile this is happening, Mrs. Kessler dies a natural death, and the link is broken somehow. And I have no idea what the plot of this movie is and how this kind of things work, but of course he snaps out of it and he gets taken to jail, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. So what did I think about this movie? It was different and interesting. I love how Bela Lugosi actually acts, because it's like he's just playing Dracula. He does these things with his fingers and he walks. And there's a funny scene at the beginning of the movie when he uses his coat to strangle people and killing them. So there's this funny shot where Bela Lugosi creeps up, and there's like the camera shot, and he just puts the coat over the camera's sort of field of vision. It goes up and down like a kid playing. It's kind of ridiculous, but he walks like a zombie, by the way. It's kind of an interesting idea how he just snaps to this other character, because otherwise he's kind of intelligent and likable, but when he's in this state he's kind of crazy. But can I recommend this movie? Absolutely not. I enjoyed it because it was so ridiculous. I had no idea what was going on half the time, and I was like, why don't they just tell Mr. Kessler that his wife is in the repair guy's basement and she has like an amnesia thing, and why aren't people talking in this movie? But I don't know, it was kind of interesting seeing something. And by the way, this movie is free on YouTube. I believe it has something to do with public domain, so everyone can watch it, and it's free for everyone. So if you're curious about something that made me laugh, at least go check it out. So yeah, anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.